3 days. 3 days after I brought new life into this world, my husband made a decision without me. A decision that would echo through the walls of our home for the next 40 years. It was not a decision about money or land or even the child's name. No, it was a choice about my body. A choice he made with my mother-in-law, whispered in the kitchen while I lay in bed, bleeding and exhausted, holding our newborn son. And because of that choice, my body was never my own again. I carried his decision in my flesh, a silent, invisible brand that burned every single day. But the deepest cut? He never spoke a word of it to me. I found out later, much later, in the most humiliating way a woman can discover she has been traded, used, and deemed unworthy. Welcome back to the channel, my dears. Settle in, for this is not a story I have told many times. It has lived inside me, a heavy stone in my chest. Before we go further, I need to ask you something. Have you ever felt a decision was made about your life, about your very self, while you were not in the room? A choice that stripped away a piece of your dignity without your consent. Tell me in the comments. I see every word, and I will be there with you. And if your heart is starting to ache, if a quiet rage is beginning to simmer for a woman you have never met, then please let your thumb press that like button. It tells the powers that be that these true stories, the raw and hidden ones, still matter. Also, make sure you are subscribed, because after this story, you will understand why I only trust this small corner of the internet with my truths. Picture it. The air in the room was thick, heavy with the smell of blood and talcum powder. My son, tiny and perfect, was finally asleep in the wooden cradle my own father had built. My body felt like a battlefield, every muscle screaming, the stitches pulling with each breath. I was a vessel, emptied. My husband Eli was not there. He had been gone for hours. I stared at the white ceiling, listening to the house settle, to the low murmur of voices from the kitchen. His voice, deep and sure. Her voice, his mother's, sharp as a blade, cutting through the quiet. I could not make out the words, but I felt the weight of them. A cold dread settled in my bones, a knowing that something was being planned for me, not with me. What would you do if you knew, in your soul, that the two people who were supposed to protect you were conspiring? Would you storm in? Would you demand answers? Or would you, like me, lie there, too broken to fight, waiting for the axe to fall? I wonder about that still. It is a question that haunts me. I did nothing. I waited. The murmur stopped. Footsteps, heavy and certain, moved away. The front door opened and closed. A car engine turned over and faded into the distance. Then, a soft knock on my bedroom door. It was not my husband. It was her. My mother-in-law, Ruth. She did not enter, just stood in the doorway, a shadow against the hall light. "It is done," she said. 2 words. That was all. Then she was gone, leaving me in the dark with a screaming newborn and a terror I could not name. For 2 days, Eli was a ghost. He brought me food, changed the baby, but his eyes never met mine. He was a man who had done something, and the guilt hung on him like a bad smell. The silence was suffocating. On the 3rd day, the pain in my body had ebbed to a dull, persistent ache. I decided I would no longer be a prisoner of my ignorance. I would confront him. But before I could, a wave of nausea hit me, sudden and violent. A fever bloomed under my skin, hot and prickly. A sharp, stabbing pain in my lower back took my breath away. Panic, cold and sharp, clawed at my throat. Something was very wrong. Eli found me on the bathroom floor, shivering and burning up at the same time. For the first time in days, he looked at me. His face was pale. "I'm taking you to the hospital," he said. His voice was tight, strained. The drive was silent, the air thick with unspoken truths. The hospital lights were too bright. They stripped me, poked me, prodded me. A young doctor, no older than my own son would one day be, frowned as he examined me. His questions were strange, invasive. "When was the procedure done?" he asked. "What procedure?" I did not understand. I told him about the birth 3 days ago. He shook his head. "No, the other one, the sterilization." The word hit me like a physical blow. Sterilization. The room spun. The machines beeped a frantic metallic rhythm. I must have looked confused because he repeated it, slower this time. "The tubal ligation. Your husband authorized it, after the delivery." My blood ran cold. The whispers in the kitchen. "It is done." He had them tie my tubes. He had them make me barren. While I was open on the table, while I was bringing his son into the world, he had ordered the doctors to close the door to life inside me. Without my knowledge, without my consent. The fever, the infection, the pain, it was all from a secret surgery I never knew I had. Imagine that moment. Imagine the betrayal. The man who held my hand, who promised to love and cherish me, had treated my body like a piece of livestock to be managed, a vessel to be sealed shut when he decided it was convenient. I looked at him then, standing in the corner of that sterile room. He looked small, not like the man I had married, but a coward. A coward who had let his mother convince him that one child was enough, that my body was too fragile, or perhaps too dangerous, to bear more. And the reason? The reason, I would learn later, was not about my health. It was about convenience. His, Ruth's. They did not want the mess of more children. They did not want the burden. So they made a choice. For me, without me. I want you to pause the video right now. Yes, right now. And I want you to write in the comments, "My body, my choice." Say it out loud. Let it be a prayer, a shout, a declaration. Because what happened to me, it happens in whispers, in shadows, in the quiet abuse of power. A husband making a decision. A mother-in-law who believes she owns her son's life and, by extension, yours. It is a poison that seeps into a marriage and kills it slowly. Make sure you are still subscribed because I need to know you are on this journey with me. I need to know my story is not falling into the void, but into the hearts of people who will listen, who will learn, who will recognize the poison in their own lives. Weeks passed. The fever broke, but a deeper sickness settled in. I did not speak of the sterilization, to him or to anyone. What words could I use? How do you articulate the theft of your own future? The knowledge that a fundamental part of your womanhood was deemed a disposable nuisance. I moved through my days like a ghost, caring for my son, cooking, cleaning. All the while, a slow, cold rage was building. It was in the way I scrubbed the dishes, the way I folded his clothes, the way I flinched when he touched me. He tried, oh, he tried to bridge the chasm he had created. He brought me flowers. He said he was sorry I had to find out that way. Sorry I had to find out. Not sorry he did it. He truly believed he had done the right thing. He was protecting me, protecting our family. What a lie. Ruth would visit, her eyes holding a smug satisfaction that made my stomach turn. She would hold my son and whisper to him, words I could not hear, but knew were about her victory. One afternoon, I could bear it no longer. I asked her, my voice shaking, "Why, Ruth? Why did you do this to me?" She looked at me, utterly serene. "It was for the best, dear. Your birth was difficult. It would be selfish to risk bringing another child into a home where the mother is so delicate." Delicate. That was her word for me. She had convinced Eli that my body was a liability, that my life was less valuable than the convenience of a one-child family. And he, her precious son, had believed her. Or perhaps he was too weak to fight her. Here is the question that will keep you up at night, the one that kept me up for decades. Who do you blame more? The mother who whispered the poison, or the husband who drank it? It is a riddle with no easy answer. But the pain is absolute. It is a weight that sits on your chest, a constant reminder that you were not enough. Not as a wife, not as a woman. Just a vessel to be filled and then permanently sealed. Tell me, what would you do if you were in my shoes? I truly need to know. Because the choices I made next, the path I took, it was born from this moment, from a rage so deep it threatened to consume me whole. That path began with silence, a silence I weaponized. For a year, I barely spoke to him. I was his wife in name only. We slept in the same bed, a vast ocean of unspoken fury between us. He would reach for me, and I would turn away. His touches felt like violations. Every time I saw my son, I saw the siblings he would never have. I saw the family they had stolen from me. And when Eli finally could not take the silence anymore, when he screamed at me to tell him what was wrong, the dam broke. Not with tears, but with a cold, quiet fury that scared even me. "You had them cut me open," I screamed, my voice raw. "You let them burn my insides while I was bringing our child into the world. You made me a ghost in my own marriage, and you ask me what is wrong?" He recoiled as if I had struck him. For the first time, he saw the magnitude of his betrayal. He stammered, he pleaded, he blamed his mother, he blamed the doctors, he blamed everyone but himself. A grown man blaming everyone but the man in the mirror. That was when I realized I was not married to a man. I was married to a boy who hid behind his mother's skirts. The disgust I felt in that moment was absolute. It sealed his fate, and mine. So the question becomes, what now? How does a woman, deeply religious, bound by vows made before God, survive such a profound desecration of those very vows? My faith was my foundation, but it also became my cage. Divorce was a sin, a scandal. It would brand me an outcast. And so I stayed. Not for him, but for my son. And for the God I believed was watching, testing me. But I made a new vow that night. I would never, ever be a victim again. I would take my power back. I would become the master of my own life, even within these walls. But first, I needed to understand. I needed to know why he would do it. Understanding did not come easily. It took months of navigating the labyrinth of my husband's weakness. I saw how his mother controlled him with guilt, with money, with her sharp, cutting words. I saw how desperate he was for her approval. And I realized, with a clarity that was both liberating and devastating, that he was a hollow man. He had filled his emptiness with his mother's will, never developing one of his own. On the day my son took his first steps, I watched Eli's face. There was a flicker of joy, but it was muted, as if he was afraid to feel too much. He looked to me, and I saw it. The guilt. It was eating him alive. But it was not enough. His guilt could not fill the empty cradle in my heart. Years turned into decades. My son grew into a good man, a strong man. I poured all my love, all my dreams into him. He was my light in the darkness. He never knew the truth. I kept it from him. It was not his burden to bear. My marriage became a cold, functional partnership. We were allies in the business of running a household, nothing more. The passion, the trust, the intimacy, it had all been burned away in that sterile operating room. I lived with a man I no longer loved, a man I could barely bring myself to respect. And every month, my body would remind me. The scar on my abdomen, the phantom ache where my fertility used to be. A constant physical memory of his betrayal. Do not think for a moment I was a saint. I was not. I had my own secrets, my own quiet rebellions. I found my own strength. I built a small business from our kitchen selling baked goods. It started as a way to earn my own money, money he could not control. It grew into a symbol of my independence. Each cake I baked, each pie I sold was a small victory. It was me saying, "You may have sealed my womb, but you will never seal my spirit." And he saw it. He saw the light return to my eyes, a light that was not for him. It was for me, and it terrified him. So how did I survive 4 decades of this? That is the question everyone asks. The secret is not forgiveness. No, I never forgave him. The secret is compartmentalization. I built a box in my soul, a box made of iron and grief, and I locked the young woman I once was inside. She was the one who wept, who raged, who mourned the children that would never be. I, the woman of 65, was the keeper of the box. I went on. I lived. I found joy in the small things, the smell of rain on dry earth, the laughter of my son as he played in the yard, the silent, unbreakable bond between a mother and her child. These things were my salvation. What would you have done differently? I'm not asking to judge, but to understand. We are all navigating a world with rules written by others. Would you have left? Would you have told the world what he did? Would you have poisoned his food? I have thought of them all, believe me, especially the poison. But my faith in my son kept me tethered to a path of quiet, agonizing endurance. Yet endurance has its own power. It is a slow, silent burn that outlasts any fire. And it gave me a perspective that only time and pain can bestow. The turning point came when my son brought home his future wife. She was bright, opinionated, and fearless. She looked him in the eye. She challenged him, and he loved her for it. Watching them, I felt a pang of something. Envy? Grief? No, it was hope. A desperate hope that she would never know the kind of betrayal I had known. When my son asked for my blessing, I held her hands and looked deep into her eyes. Never let him make decisions for you, I told her, my voice trembling. Your body is a temple, and you are its only priestess. She looked confused, but my son, my boy, he met my gaze. In that moment, I think he understood a fraction of the weight I had been carrying. That was enough. Then Ruth fell ill. A stroke. She who had been so sharp, so controlling, was now trapped in a body that would not obey her, a mind that was a jumbled, fading map. The irony was not lost on me. The woman who had decided my body's fate was now a prisoner in her own. Did I feel pity? Perhaps, but the rage was still there, a low, burning ember. I did not go to her. I could not. My son did not understand. She is your mother-in-law, he said. She is old and dying. I looked at him, this man I had raised to be kind and compassionate. Some prisons are made of flesh and blood, I said. She built my prison, and I am not required to visit her cell. You want to know if there's a happy ending? Life is not a fairy tale. My husband never truly understood the depth of his crime. He lived his life comfortable and secure, believing he had done what was necessary. He died 5 years ago in his sleep. I was sitting in the chair beside the bed. The silence that had defined our marriage filled the room. As I watched his chest rise and fall for the last time, I felt many things. Grief, yes, but also a strange, quiet peace. The cage door had finally opened. I was free. Not from the memory, but from the daily presence of my jailer. The real story, the one hidden beneath the pain, is about what happens when your body becomes a battleground. When the most intimate part of your being is treated as a matter of policy, a family decision, a footnote. It is a story about the theft of a future. The children I never had, the daughters I never raised, the grandchildren I will never hold. I only had my son, and while I love him more than life itself, I will always carry the phantom weight of the others, the ones who were never allowed to exist. It is a mourning without a funeral, a grief that has no name. Now, as I sit here, an old woman in a quiet house, I think about the generations of women who came before me, the silent sufferers, the ones whose bodies were not their own. And I think of the young women now. They have a fire I was never allowed to have. They shout, they fight, they demand, and I am so proud of them. They are breaking the silence that nearly destroyed me. But for the women of my generation and the ones who still live in the shadows, I tell this story. Your pain is seen. Your rage is valid. You are not your body's traitor. You are its witness. I need you to answer one more question before you go. Why do we allow it? Why do we let the whispers in the kitchen, the decisions made behind closed doors, the silent thefts of our autonomy go unchallenged? Is it fear? Is it duty? Or is it the deeply ingrained belief that our suffering is the cost of keeping the peace? Write your answer in the comments. Let it be messy. Let it be angry. Let it be true. And as you type, know that I am here, reading, nodding my head, holding a space for your story, just as you have held a space for mine. If this story has touched you, if it has made you think or feel or want to scream, then your job is not done. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. A daughter, a mother, a friend. Someone who is fighting a silent battle of their own. Let them know they are not alone. And if you believe that a woman's body is her own, that her choices are hers to make, then hit that subscribe button. Join this community. Let us build a world where a decision like the one my husband made is not just a tragedy, but a crime. Because until it is, we must keep telling these stories. We must keep the fires of anger and change burning. My name I have not told you. Perhaps that is for the best, because my name does not matter. What matters is that I am a mirror. I am the reflection of a million silent stories, a million stolen choices. So when you look at me, when you hear my voice, do not see just an old Amish woman. See the fight. See the survival. See the truth that can never be tied off and sealed. See the life that, despite everything, refused to be extinguished. And know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that even in the deepest silence, a woman's spirit can still find a way to speak. Goodbye, my dears, until we meet again.